there! I'm jolly old St. Nicholas, or as my friends call me, Matt. I'm here at Planch Productions to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. You may ask why I look like a teenager in a crappy Santa costume. Well, I've actually been on this skincare routine recently, and it's done winter wonders for my skin. Now, nothing screams happy holidays quite like a good old-fashioned festive film, so why not talk about a film franchise that stars me! That's right, tonight we're talking about the Santa Claus franchise. Let's see how far I can get through this without resorting to the adult eggnog. There have been many movie franchises throughout the years that have revolved around the holiday season. There's the Home Alone franchise, the Grinch franchise, the Gremlins franchise, Silent Night, Deadly Night? How did this become a franchise, but Arthur Christmas didn't? I mean, hello? But you know which one we're talking about today. That is, of course, the Santa Claus franchise. Don't you love movies where you're forced to say the in the title? Like, did you watch Predator or The Predator? For your jingle bell's sake, it better be the former. Now, like I stated in last year's Christmas special, a Christmas movie's main goal is getting you in the Christmas spirit. They're meant to be more Christmas movies than Christmas movies. Now, do these movies plus show only available on Disney Plus accomplish that goal? I mean, are we talking about individually, or? The Santa Claus started off as a script made by Steve Rudnick and Leo Benvenuti. In November 1992, Hollywood Pictures got the script as a potential starring vehicle for Tim Allen. The movie was directed by John Pasquin. Both Bill Murray and Chevy Chase were offered the role of Scott Calvin, but both turned down said role for separate reasons. Other actors considered for the role were Tom Selleck, Robin Williams, Tom Hanks, and Mel Gibson. Imagining Mel Gibson going from this to Braveheart is so funny to me. The Santa Claus released on November 11th, 1994 to a box office of $190.3 million on a budget of only $22 million. Yeah, this was during the time in Hollywood where the average movie budget couldn't buy you 28 wind turbines. Now, on to the film. The Santa Claus is pretty good. This movie definitely has the charm of a Christmas movie. The tone is very lighthearted and silly, but in a feel-good sort of way. The acting is overall pretty good. Tim Allen gives his usual Tim Allen performance. If you've ever seen Home Improvement or Last Man Standing, that's basically every Tim Allen performance ever, barring maybe Toy Story. Who remembers Christmas with the Cranks, or Zoom, or Shaggy Dog? God, this guy has a weird filmography. Eric Lloyd gives a pretty good child performance. His acting in this franchise peaked when he was 8 years old. That's comforting. The cast of characters is overall pretty solid. Scott's a good take on the business person learns to love Christmas trope. Listen, not all the Hallmark protagonists can turn into Santa at the end. Rosewood from Beverly Hills Cops is pretty funny. Bernard is inarguably the best character in this franchise, and the rest of the cast is alright. The practical effects in this movie look really good. Like, the Santa's Workshop set looks great. The visual effects don't look amazing, but it's from 1994, I can't bully it too hard. I think the movie overall executes its very wacky premise decently. It's got some funny jokes, a solid story, and a very sweet ending. If I were to criticize this movie, some of the jokes are really unfunny. The movie kind of meanders in the middle with very little of anything important happening. Plus, while the story is good, it's also very predictable. Nevertheless, this is a very good little Christmas movie that I totally see why it's considered a Christmas classic. I'll give the Santa Claus a 7 out of 10. Well, that was very nice. Let's see if the series can keep up this quality. The Santa Claus currently sits at a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and a 66% from audiences, a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb, a 57% on Metacritic, and a 3.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. It's kind of surprising how many middling reviews this has from people. I mean, you know things are bad when its highest rating is from the Rotten Tomatoes critics. Now, despite this movie being a box office hit, no confirmation of a sequel happened until July 2000, 5.5 years after the first film. The original draft of the script was written by Don Reimer, and it was about Scott having to deal with the challenges of balancing his work and personal life. Santa doesn't have a personal life! What, you think I read through all those lists in a couple of hours? Are you stupid? Michael Lembeck was brought in to direct. In April 2001, Cinco Paul and Ken Dario were brought in to write a new script for the film. That's always a great sign. The Santa Claus 2 released on November 1st, 2002, almost 8 whole years after the first film. The movie grossed $172.9 million on a budget of $65 million. Now, what do we think about this movie? The Santa Claus 2 is okay, I guess. Oh. It's not a horrible sequel, but that doesn't mean it's a good one either. Okay, let's start off with the positives. The acting's overall decent. Tim's good, Elizabeth Mitchell gives a good performance. I think the story has a good concept of Scott needing to find a Mrs. Claus, although that does bring into question what happened to the previous Mrs. Claus after Scott killed her Santa. I think Scott and Carol have good chemistry. Also, of course, her name is Carol. Very funny, guys.
What, did you name your baby Jesus?
The practical effects still look good. The visual effects have improved. They're still not great, but they look kind of better. And overall, the A-plot is actually pretty good, with Scott finding love after his divorce. Yes, there's the whole liar reveal trope that makes me groan, but besides that, it's alright. Unfortunately, the B-plot cannot get the same praise. I get that they needed to give the North Pole side of the cast something to do, but who in the writer's room decided, hey, let's make the characters create a Santa robot that turns into a fascist?
You know what'd be funny?
I mean, points for creativity, but points away for insanity. They introduced this new elf named Curtis who's just kind of annoying. He has some funny bits going back and forth with Bernard, but that's about it. The family doesn't do much of substance in this movie. They introduced Charlie's little sister Lucy and the Council of Legendary Figures with the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, the Sandman. Oh my god, this is literally Rise of the Guardians. I mean, they even bring in Jack Frost in the next movie, which we'll get to in a bit.
Oh no.
This movie isn't really funny. They have a new reindeer named Chet in this movie that's just used as the dumb animal for the kids to laugh at. The pacing's okay. I don't know, there's just not much to talk about with this movie. It's one of those sequels that's harmless, but it also didn't need to be made. It is a perfectly average sequel. I'll give the Santa Claus 2 a 5 out of 10.
Well, that was underwhelming, but hopefully the third movie can carry some slack.
The Santa Claus 2 currently sits at a 56% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and a 43% from audiences, a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb, a 48% on Metacritic, and a 2.8 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Everyone seemed to agree that this was a downgrade from the first film, which already got pretty middling reviews. Now, the Santa Claus trilogy would conclude with a third movie. A third movie that was not very good.
What?
At all.
What?
The Santa Claus 3 The Escape Clause released on November 3rd, 2006 to a box office of $110.8 million on a budget of apparently only $12 million. I hate it when media series all of a sudden use a subtitle randomly in the franchise. John Wick Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3 Parabellum, and then Chapter 4. And don't even get me started with Ballerina's awkward title.
They tried doing a Star Wars story subtitle, but for some reason they put it before the title, just like The Lost World Jurassic Park. I swear, the people who make these titles are either dyslexic or illiterate. Wait, what was I talking about?
Can you tell I'm stalling talking about this movie? The Santa Claus 3 is awful.
What?
Okay, let me say it's very few positives. Martin Short carries this movie. I don't like Jack Frost in this movie, but Martin Short's performance is at least quirky enough to be somewhat entertaining. And the tone is relatively whimsical for the Christmas season. That's it. That's all I got for this movie. This movie has so many problems. So the basic story is Carol's having a baby and her parents come in to visit, but they don't know that Scott is Santa. So Scott and the elves pretend like the North Pole is actually Canada. Meanwhile, Jack Frost deceives Scott into wishing that he was never Santa, which brings the two back to 1994, where Jack steals the Santa code and becomes the new Santa, while Scott returns to being the CEO of his old company.
What? There is so much to go over here.
The story is your basic It's a Wonderful Life, Shrek Forever After sort of tale that really doesn't do anything interesting with the characters in this concept. Scott learns to appreciate the people around him. Wow, never seen that done before. They have this Back to the Future Part 2 sort of thing where the characters see themselves doing scenes from the first movie, but it's not done anywhere near as entertaining. The characters aren't very good. Scott and Carol aren't compelling in this movie. The family does even less in this movie. Jack freezes Neil and Laura and locks Lucy in a closet for the majority of the movie. I don't even remember anything that Charlie does in this movie. Carol's parents are your typical weird parents in every comedy sequel that brings in someone's parents. Curtis is just straight up annoying, and Bernard's not even in this movie.
Gosh, you couldn't even bring back the best part of these movies. No wonder this movie's so bad.
Jack Frost is an annoying antagonist who's not written to be annoying, but he is. The plot is all over the place, with characters being exactly where they need to be because plot reasons. The pacing sucks, with the part in the alternate reality feeling so padded out. I don't think I laughed once during this entire movie. The most joy I emoted watching this was a slight smirk when Carol's parents first arrived. Great job, guys. You got a single positive reaction out of me. Are you happy? The dialogue sucks. The effects look okay, I guess. The acting isn't very good from anyone who's not Martin Short. Tim Allen looks like he would rather be anywhere else than filming this movie. Jack Frost has, I swear to God, the most rushed redemption arc I've ever seen in a piece of fiction. In one moment, he's talking about how he regrets none of his crimes, but when Lucy gives him one warm hug, he suddenly changes his ways. This isn't even funny bad, this is just actually atrocious.
This doesn't make me holly jolly, this just makes me livid.
The Santa Claus 3 is a dumpster fire. An incompetently made movie that really shows that we could have just stopped after the second movie. Heck, we could have just stopped after the first movie, but the almighty dollar prevails. This is one of the worst Christmas movies I've ever seen. It is awful. I'm giving the Santa Claus 3 The Escape Clause a 1 out of 10. Terrible, unfunny slop.
Well, in the hopes of not sounding like a Scrooge, let's hope that the TV show is at least somewhat watchable.
The Santa Claus 3 currently sits at a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and a 39% from audiences, a 4.9 out of 10 on IMDb, a 32% on Metacritic, and a 2.3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So yeah, nobody likes this movie. Now after that train wreck, the Santa Claus franchise was shelved away for 16 years. But in January 2022, it was announced that a new legacy sequel TV series to the Santa Claus was coming to Disney Plus, with Tim Allen returning as Scott Calvin. The show was later titled The Santa Clauses. Jack Berta is the showrunner, and the first 2 episodes of the show were released on November 16th, 2022, with the second season starting on November 8th, 2023. I'm just going to discuss the seasons all together rather than talking about the episodes individually.
Do you really care that much to hear me talk about Chapter 3 Into the Wobbly Woods, the episode with a cameo from former professional football quarterback Peyton Manning? Do you really care that much?
So, the first season of The Santa Clauses isn't horrible. To its credit, it is better than the third movie. So is The Flu. This show might genuinely have the most boring TV pilot I've ever seen. Nothing in it even made me mad. It was just a straight line of mediocrity. That's the season's biggest problem. Everything about it is just so uninteresting. The basic premise of this season is that Scott is trying to find a replacement for him as Santa because he can't do the Santa gig forever. Guess what doesn't happen by the end of the season?
I wasted 3 hours of potential cookie baking time with the missus to watch this.
Most of the old characters aren't even in this show. Neil and Laura don't return, Lucy doesn't return, Charlie makes one appearance early on, and Bernard's not even in this season till the second to last episode. Even if that's annoying, seeing Bernard was one of the only positive emotions I had watching this season. Oh, also Curtis doesn't return, which no complaints here. All the new characters are serviceable at best and actively make me mad at worst. Scott's new kids, Buddy and Sandra, are fine. They're not insufferable to watch, even if their acting isn't great. Tim Allen's daughter plays Sandra in this show. Don't you love nepotism? Noel and Betty are very boring and dull, and Simon sucks as an antagonist. He's a businessman trying to balance his work life with his daughter after his wife dies, and Scott ends up choosing him to become the new Santa, and he's not characterized as malicious in any way, but out of nowhere in episode 4, he just becomes a bad guy solely for the purpose of having a villain and getting Scott back to the North Pole. And then in the finale, he gets redeemed because it was totally not obvious at all that would happen. Stop redeeming your villains, you're not good at it. The storyline is very generic and predictable. A lot of the jokes aren't very funny. The stakes never feel high at all, and they have this really stupid reveal in episode 4. It's basically revealed that Scott is some chosen one type character in a long line of Santas, and that the previous Santa was supposed to fall off the roof to his death.
The entire inciting incident of this franchise was Scott accidentally getting Santa killed. And you're telling me that that was supposed to happen? Who wrote this? And what crack were they smoking?
The music and pacing's alright, I guess. The season just feels like it was made solely for more content on Disney+. It's a mediocre season of television whose biggest crime is just being so agonizingly dull and boring. Overall, I'll give the Santa Clauses Season 1 a 4 out of 10. Being better than the Escape Clause isn't a feat, it's a standard. And would you believe me if I said Season 2 is somehow worse? Okay, to be clear, it's not by much. The first season was just inoffensive and boring. Agonizingly inoffensive and boring, but still just inoffensive and boring. This season is just actually bad. So season 2 is about Scott training Buddy to become the next Santa right after last season where Buddy said no to that in episode 2. Do we have any other ideas in this franchise that don't involve someone being Santa that's not Scott? The second movie with Toy Santa, third movie with Jack Frost, first season with Simon, now this. You know, I'm starting to think that the Santa Claus doesn't work as a franchise.
No!
Meanwhile, a new villain arises, Magnus Antis, or the Mad Santa, played by Eric Stonestreet. They dragged my boy Cam from Modern Family into this? Oh, in case you were wondering, no, he's not threatening or interesting in the slightest. I can't tell which season's villain is worse. Simon angered me more because of him becoming evil out of nowhere and his crappy redemption, but Mad Santa is just a nothing burger villain. The writing this season is genuinely terrible. The writers actually wrote a child who wants Roblox for Christmas. Not Robux, Roblox. The free game.
Can't wait for season 3 where a kid's Christmas wish is for the Messages app.
Out of Touch doesn't even begin to describe this. Episode 4 is by far the worst episode of the show. It is terrible. Apparently, Christmas and Easter are going on at the exact same time because that makes sense. I don't like to joke about stuff being written by AI because that's a joke that died like 2 years ago. But the character development is so minuscule it might as well be non-existent. I know this was meant to be low budget, but the production design looks so cheap. Like the effects are on the same tier of the movies that came out over 20 years ago. Tim Allen is barely in the Santa outfit. The acting isn't very good. The pacing sucks with the story not gaining any traction until like episode 4. It is painfully unfunny. They try to add deep lore to the franchise in episode 5, which would be much more appreciated if I even remotely cared about the story that I'm watching, which, spoiler alert, I don't. If I were to give any positives, the music sure is music, I'll give it that. The premiere and the finale were okay, and some of the better episodes of the show, and the ending was sweet. But overall, this season wasn't just boring, it was also just badly written. A pure waste of 3 hours of my life that I'll never get back. I'll give the Santa Clauses Season 2 a 3.5 out of 10. Now, the show as a whole...
The Santa Claus is like eating white bread. When you start eating it, it's fine. It's nothing amazing, but it doesn't make you want to cut your tongue off either. It's okay. Now, imagine eating nothing but white bread for 6 hours straight. That would drive you a bit nuts now, wouldn't it?
I haven't seen a mediocre nothing burger show like this in a long time. Well, that's not actually true, because I watched Dune Prophecy this summer, but that's besides the point. The biggest problem of the show is just that it's so uninteresting and unmemorable. Especially in Season 2, where giant parts of episodes were leaving my mind minutes after I finished said episode. This series just showed how this franchise doesn't really work as a franchise. It's constantly recycling ideas from either the movies or itself to the point where Season 2 just feels like a stream of reused plot points and storylines. Evil Santa, Scott finding a replacement for him as Santa. It's like a best of compilation of the franchise, and even then...
Nobody cares about this franchise enough to look up a best of compilation.
In addition to crappy production design, mediocre character development, and being criminally unfunny, this show is just not good. It's a boring, tedious experience that I will never go back to ever again. Overall, I'll give the Santa Clauses a 4 out of 10. This was Disney's chance to show that this franchise maybe, just maybe, had some potential to be okay, but they blew it. It just feels like something that was made solely to be more content for Disney Plus with zero effort being put into it. So if Disney doesn't care about the show, why should I? It hasn't been confirmed to be cancelled, so a season 3 may be on the way, but I don't care. You don't care. Nobody cares about this show or this franchise anymore. Just like Home Alone, it's a Christmas franchise that has just gotten more L's than W's. The additions to this franchise don't feel like they come come from a place of passion, but from a place of wanting to make more money. Which, no duh, that goes for every product ever made, but making installments in a franchise just for money with zero care or effort being put into them is not good in the long run. Case in point, the Bayformer movies. I don't even really care about the original that much. It's a cute little Christmas movie, but not much more than that. But if Disney has this much faith in this series where they've made 2 sequels and a 2-season TV show, it just makes me question why? Why do they think people care this much about this franchise when they don't seem to care at all? I mean, they clearly don't care enough to give it a budget when the escape clause has a smaller budget than the first film. I think I'm one of 5 people who knows that the TV show exists. It's mind-boggling to me why they dump all this money into something that isn't financially or especially critically beneficial. Like, why? Why do you make so many bad projects? Why?
Guys, I don't feel holly jolly right now. I just feel sad. How can I spread a Merry Christmas when I'm not even merry on Christmas?
Hey Ben, what's got you so down?
I don't know. Recently, I've just been feeling so negative. I mean, between the fake movie trailers, the Minecraft movie, the bad Superman movies, the bad Halloween movies, the bad... No, just the Bayformer movies. And now this, it's really brought my mood down exponentially.
Well, this kind of sounds like something you've brought upon yourself.
Thanks, crewmate.
I didn't mean it to insult you, just... Why do you talk about so many things that you don't like?
Well, my initial thought process going into them is, hey, this would be fun to make fun of before I just make myself miserable near the end. I foolishly think people will be entertained by my suffering, but all it leads to is people saying that I'm always negative and need to be more positive. It's a cycle. A cycle that I can't put the blame on anyone but myself.
Well, you shouldn't force yourself to make videos that'll just lead you to being miserable. This is something you love doing, so why would you want to make yourself feel terrible while doing it? I'm not saying you should never make videos criticizing bad stuff, but maybe find a balance that'll lead you to being in a better mood.
You know what? You may be onto something. How did a loser like me get so lucky with a space son like you?
And how did a space son like me get so lucky with a funny dad like you?
Let's go inside. I've got an idea.
Arthur Christmas is such an underrated Christmas movie. It's incredibly funny and witty, it looks really good, it has a unique concept that leads to a very engaging story. The voice cast is great, with James McAvoy giving an amazing performance as Arthur himself. Did you know that Steve is played by Dr. Gregory House himself? This makes too much sense. They reference the Cuban Missile Crisis. Silent Night, Deadly Night can't say it's done that. All of the main characters get great development and feel like an actual family. The ending is so heartwarming and sweet and I love this movie so much. One of Sony Picture Animation's best, you are actively doing yourself a disservice if you haven't seen this movie. To conclude the year, I'll give Arthur Christmas a 9.5 out of 10.
You're right, I feel so much better now. I feel joyful, I feel jolly, I feel... merry.
I told you it works!
Crewmate, Merry Christmas. Say it with me to the people at home.
Merry Christmas to all,
and to all, a good night.